And another threat of Russian military intervention. Sergei Shoigu says the safety of Russian citizens in Moldova's breakaway Transnistria region is currently under threat. Shoigu is the secretary of Russia's Security Council. He says it would use all available means to protect its citizens in Transnistria. Now, the people there are Moldovan citizens, not Russians. There's been a long-running subversion campaign, of course, mounted by Moscow across the region. Let's bring in for comment and analysis Laurențiu Pleșca, who's a policy fellow at the German Marshall Fund of the United States. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you reading these words from Moscow's Secretary of the Security Council, Sergei Shoigu?
Thank you for having me. What we're seeing from Shoigu today, this is not spontaneous. This is deliberate and carefully timed because Russia's Security Council Secretary has essentially pulled out the same playbook Moscow used in eastern Ukraine and Donbas back in 2014, and even, of course, before the full-scale invasion in 2022. And what's remarkable is that he is not even trying to hide it. So he drew that parallel himself. He literally warned that Chisinau's rhetoric today resembles what Kiev was saying about Donbass before the invasion now. So I will treat this as a warning, and we should treat it as exactly that. And of course, there's this figure he keeps repeating, 220,000 Russian passport holders in Transnistria. I mean, we've heard this before in Crimea, in South Ossetia, in Abkhazia. So it's a well-worn instrument. You basically issue passports, then you claim a duty to protect your own people. And I think that what makes it more serious this time is that the Russian Duma has just passed a first reading of legislation that would formally authorize Russian troops deployments abroad wherever Russian citizens feel threatened. So I would say that Shoigu isn't just talking because the legal framework to act is being built right now as we speak. And of course, he also accused Moldova of blackmailing Transnistria on gas, of weaponizing energy. But the facts tell that a completely different story, because it was actually Tiraspol that refused EU energy assistance last year when Moldovans in Transnistria basically froze in their apartments. So it was actually the fact that Russia didn't allow them to accept it, because accepting European help would mean loosening Moscow's grip on the region. So this whole energy argument also, it falls apart the moment you look at what actually happened.
Laurențiu, just clarify for us once again, Shoigu is saying that the people in Transnistria are Russian citizens. Our caption saying Russia vowing to protect its citizens. As far as I can see it, looking at the map, Transnistria is part of Moldova. It's not part of Russia, just as Donbas is part of Ukraine and not part of Russia. So this is basically a concept that has been in some way manipulated by Russia to create this idea that there are Russian citizens there. Is that, am I right in understanding that?
There are some Russian citizens actually, but they got their citizenship. So they are basically Moldovans that live there. When you compare the numbers of Russian passport holders and Moldovan passport holders, there is a really big difference. Of course, there are the Russian troops that are based there. So let me give you actually the actual number. We're talking about approximately 2,000 soldiers, Russian soldiers, but the majority of them are actually not from Russia. They are locals, so people from the regions with Russian passport who served within that military structure that is in Transnistria. So, because since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, in Transnistria, actually, no new troops have arrived. There was no new rotation, so because the territory is landlocked. So you see, Moldova is on one side, and Ukraine is on other side. And with Ukraine's border sealed to Russian military movement, there is simply no way to actually trust the threats that Russia is giving right now. I would say that there is actually another reason for these threats, and that is the fact that Moldova just basically declared 6 senior Russian military commanders from Transnistria, including the garrison commander himself, as persona non grata. So Shoigu calls that a provocation, and also the fact that basically Moldova, in pursuing its EU path in joining the European Union by 2030, actually right now, as we speak, has a plan of reintegrating the region through gradual fiscal economic integration. So Moscow is really pissed off basically about the fact that there is no real power of Moscow there. There are negotiations between Chisinau and Tiraspol on the format 1+1. There is no longer Russia present in the room, and actually Moldovans are also trying to pursue the European Union to have a more strategic role in that regard.
Laurențiu Pleșca, Policy Fellow from the German Marshall Fund, joining us from Bucharest. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for giving us your insight and analysis. Thank you for your time. Thank you, sir, very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Laurențiu Pleșca, thank you once again. We are watching all developments, of course.